If you're anything like me, you probably have a tendency to reach for your phone anytime you have more than 30 seconds to kill. Be alone with my thoughts? No thank you. And while staring at your phone all the time isn't the healthiest activity, research shows that the boredom that drives us to do it actually can be beneficial. But here's the weird thing. There's more than one kind of boredom, and not all of them are as good for your brain as others. So let's explore the science of boring, which turns out to be anything but. Boredom is pretty universal. It's a cross-cultural phenomenon that has been written about going back to the ancient Greeks. Despite that, there are still a lot of question marks around it, starting with what boredom actually is. Like, researchers have gone back and forth over how exactly we should be defining boredom. These days, most researchers define boredom as a negative experience that happens when you want to be doing something satisfying, but either can't or aren't able to do it. But that definition doesn't tell us what causes that experience. Like, some people might be able to focus on their math homework, but others find it so dull that they'd rather watch paint dry. Some researchers think that the reason people feel this boredom is that there's a mismatch between how much stimulation is around them and how much they're looking for, whether that's more or less. Others think it's a failure of attention, or that it's related to emotional unawareness, or even that it's a sign that you're struggling to find meaning in your life. So if you're bored right now, think on that. So we don't know exactly why boredom happens. Do we know how it happens? Also, no. To figure out what's happening under the neurological hood, researchers need to start by making their participants really bored. They've done this in a lot of different ways, including making people do easy math problems, having them play a video game without clear objectives, or watching a video of people hanging laundry. Then they use fMRI imaging to see which neural networks are active while the participants are sitting there, probably regretting signing up for such a lame study. The most consistent finding is that boredom is related to activity in the default mode network. The default mode network is a group of brain areas that activate together when your brain is wandering or when you're not doing a specific task. It includes areas like the medial prefrontal cortex, the posterior cingulate cortex, the angular gyrus, and the precuneus. While we may still be unpacking the exact mechanisms of boredom, we do know a lot more about its effects on people. More specifically, the ways that it can be good or bad for you. But before we get into the rest of this story, even the boring research needs funding, and so do we. So here's a quick ad break.
And now I get to tell you about Brilliant, a company that shares our love for curiosity, learning, and doing it all in engaging ways. Brilliant helps you strengthen your math skills with lessons in coordinate transformations. You'll get to practice in translating points and shapes, rotating them, moving diagonally, reflecting, stretching in multiple directions, and more. Whether you're 10 or 110, you can learn with hands-on manipulations designed by world-class teachers from MIT, Harvard, and Stanford. To learn for free on Brilliant for a full 30 days, go to brilliant.org/SciShow, scan the QR code on screen, or click on the link in the description. They're also giving you unlimited daily access to everything on Brilliant with 20% off an annual premium subscription. Thank you to Brilliant for supporting this SciShow video.
Before we get to whether boredom is good for you, we should clarify that there are different types of boredom. One key distinction is between state boredom and trait boredom. State boredom is the experience of feeling bored in the moment. If you've finished up work and all your friends are busy, you have leftovers in the fridge so you don't need to start dinner, and you've already finished the newest seasons of all your shows, you're experiencing state boredom. But trait boredom is the innate tendency to feel bored. People with high trait boredom may feel bored in a lot of different situations that would be interesting to someone else, feel bored more quickly than other people, or often feel like there's nothing for them to be doing. So when we're trying to figure out if boredom is good or bad for us, we have to be clear about what kind of boredom we're talking about. A lot of the research out there is actually on trait boredom, not state boredom. There's a growing body of research that suggests that high trait boredom is associated with a whole bunch of other issues, including problem gambling, substance abuse, and dropping out of school. And it's associated with anxiety and depression. All of this has a bit of a chicken and egg problem, though. Maybe getting bored easily causes people to engage in problematic behaviors and causes them to develop anxiety and depression. Or maybe it's that tendency toward addiction-related behaviors or depression that leads to these people becoming increasingly bored with other things in life. We just don't know which comes first. So when we're talking about trait boredom, it's hard to say conclusively if it's bad for you, but it's definitely associated with things that aren't great. There's less research on state boredom, and what we could find is kind of bonkers. Like in one study, people were alone in a room with nothing to do for 15 minutes. They had no phone, no TV, just a button that, if you pressed it, would give them an electric shock. To be clear, they didn't have to push the button. They'd still spend the same amount of time in that boring room either way. And yet, 67% of male participants and 25% of female participants chose to shock themselves at least once. Plus, they had to exclude one outlier who chose to shock himself 190 times. What's even weirder is that these were participants who had previously said they'd be willing to pay actual money to avoid being shocked, and they still chose to willingly shock themselves to avoid being bored. Yes, even 190 shocks McGee. People clearly hate being bored. But state boredom does seem to have some benefits too. Some researchers suggest that being bored signals to us that we're not on the right track. There's something about what we're doing that isn't fulfilling or isn't allowing us to achieve our goals, and it prompts us to think about that and adjust course. Like, if you find all your classes boring, it could be a sign that you should switch majors, or maybe that college isn't for you right now. Some models go even further and suggest that boredom is an evolutionary benefit, because it would encourage us to move on from recurring situations that aren't helping us meet our goals. Like if you're searching for food over and over again in the same location and don't ever find it, boredom may have evolved as a clue that it's time to search elsewhere. And these course corrections aren't just good because they make us stop feeling bad. Being involved in things that we find meaningful or significant can keep our actions in line with our beliefs and encourages us to engage with our community. Both things that are important to overall psychological well-being on their own, above and beyond making those icky feelings go away. While there's still a lot to learn about boredom, there's plenty of evidence to suggest that those who are chronically bored might want to be on the lookout for other problem behaviors in their lives. But if you got bored watching this video, it might have been good for you. So, you're welcome.